What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Hey, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you can be notified when we do these live streams and also drop the new videos. Thank you for everybody that supports the channel on Venmo, Super Chat, and Patreon. It's been a good. I'm getting excited again. Because according to a newspaper that I just got done talking poorly about yesterday and describing the situation with O'Hare Davies out of the UK, they have reported that British heavyweight Dillian Whyte reportedly set to face Luis Ortiz in WBC title eliminator in the UK on July 28th. That is right around the corner. Let's make it happen. I got to tell you, that is great news, because it will, for me, introduce Dillian Whyte, if he can get past Luis Ortiz, which I do not think he will. But if he does, it introduces Dillian Whyte as a serious heavyweight. And I'm really happy that the challenge is that he would face this challenge, because it also verifies that Dillian Whyte, along with Tyson Fury, are two UK heavyweights that I can say that I like. I don't think Dillian Whyte is the best boxer in the world, but the thing that I like about Dillian Whyte is that Dillian Whyte does want to throw hands. And I was worried about whether he was going to go the Pulev route, but as you know, Eddie Hearn lost a purse bid, which would have paid, the result of which would be Dillian Whyte going off to Bulgaria to engage in a boxing match and earn peanuts. Or, well, not peanuts in my sense, because hey man, if I could get $300,000 for getting in a ring for 36 minutes of throwing, I would take it. So not bad money, but not the money that Dillian Whyte obviously wants to make. So it seems as if all things conspired to get Dillian Whyte in the ring with Luis Ortiz. And I like that. So let me go through the report and then discuss it. And also going to talk about the other guy, Tyson Fury, I just listened to an interview on IFL TV. Shout out to IFL TV. If you can't tell, I'm starting to feel a little less, since I've given up real concern about Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm moving on. I'm just moving on. I was just, you can't make people do right. So if they wind up doing right, they wind up doing it. If not, whatever. I'm starting to get better matches, good heavyweight matches regardless, like this one. Dillian Whyte is set to face knockout specialist Luis Ortiz in a WBC title eliminator, according to reports. The 30-year-old has been in talks to face Kubrat Pulev in an IBF heavyweight title eliminator, but can now face the Southpaw Cuban on July 28th. According to ESPN, the bout will take place at the O2 Arena and could be announced tomorrow. They claim a press conference has been called in London where Matchroom promoter will announce the bout. Matchroom promoter Eddie Hearn will announce the bout. Whyte is the current WBC silver title holder and successfully defended his belt against Lucas Brown in March with a devastating 6-round KO. While Ortiz failed in his quest to become a world champion in his last outing after he was stopped against WBC champion Deontay Wilder in the 10th round. The 39-year-old rocked the 2008 Olympic bronze medalist during the bout and appeared to be in control of the match before being knocked unconscious. Before being KO'd. He wasn't knocked unconscious. He was just put on a knee, drooling. While potential opponent Whyte has asserted himself as arguably the best heavyweight outside of the current champions, as he continues to face the best possible opponents. Since his sole defeat against Anthony Joshua in December of 2015, he has recorded victories over the likes of Derek Chisora, Malcolm Tan, Robert Helenius, and Lucas Brown. I thought they said that he had the best possible opponents. That doesn't sound like a bunch of world beaters to me, but I do like his attitude. A rematch against AJ is the match both men have welcomed, with the duo vastly improving since their British title showdown. Yeah, okay. I can live with this. And it speaks and I can live with it either way that match goes. Now, the irony of this is it shouldn't have taken all this for this bout to happen. Because for people who are familiar, Matchroom Boxing had done all they could do to get Dillian Whyte into the position of being the mandatory challenger for the WBC title that Deontay Wilder holds. And in a strange twist of fate, Mauricio Sulaiman announced that Dominic Breazeale, who I believe is the number 2 rated boxer by the WBC, would be the first person to be named the mandatory for Dillian Whyte for Deontay Wilder, and then ordered this eliminator between Dillian Whyte and Luis Ortiz. But the reason why I said it didn't have to come to this is because Deontay Wilder himself said that he would face Dillian Whyte as a voluntary if Dillian Whyte beat Luis Ortiz, thereby bypassing the necessity to get a mandatory shot. The only effect that bout would have, as far as it being a voluntary versus a mandatory bout between Dillian Whyte and Deontay Wilder, was that, from what I recall of my reading of the WBC rules, is that since it wasn't a mandatory, that if in the very, very small chance that Dillian Whyte gets past Deontay Wilder, and I'm saying it's small because it's a small chance he's going to get past Luis Ortiz. And then if he gets past Luis Ortiz, then he's got to get past Deontay Wilder. But if he does those two things, and hats off to him for, wanting to make that happen, then he would have to face Dominic Breazeale, who would be the next person in line to be the mandatory, because you inherit under the WBC rules. If you beat the champion, you inherit the mandatory responsibilities of the champion that you replaced. So that's the only difference that I can recall. The only effect that would have if it was a voluntary versus a mandatory. But like I said, Deontay Wilder said that he would do it anyway as a voluntary. But it's good. Now, I don't see him beating Luis Ortiz, and it's nice to see again for several reasons, because I'm talking about three boxers in Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte, and Luis Ortiz, who I believe, if you take Tyson Fury out of that, I think Tyson Fury is a top level heavyweight, and his father, man, I'm telling you, one of the main reasons that I like Tyson Fury is I love his attitude, and I was listening to an interview I talked about it that I wanted to mention on IFL TV, where his father, I believe his father is Big John Fury. Sometimes I mix up whether it's Huey Fury's daddy. I think his dad is Peter Fury, and I think Tyson Fury's father is John Fury. But Big John Fury was held in no punches about Anthony Joshua, about the chances of Tyson Fury facing Anthony Joshua, and he said that he said that Anthony Joshua would retire before facing Tyson Fury, and that Tyson Fury could beat him now without, he said he could beat him now without a warm up, and gave a lot more credit to Safiri, Safiri in the lead up to that bout. But regardless of that, that's a nice level, several bouts that we can see. Now, the whole picture to me, and why I'm kind of trying to walk away from this whole Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua thing, is number one, I think the effect of all this conversation has really made something go away. People know who Deontay Wilder is. And a lot of the criticisms and critiques of Deontay Wilder, which I thought were particularly unfair, have gone away. It's very rare now that I hear somebody tell me that people in the United States don't know who Deontay Wilder is. Though I've been in the United States, I've lived in the United States my whole life. And I paid attention to boxing for decades now. And I've known of Deontay Wilder the entire time he's been a professional. Now, the interesting thing is, though, that I think that a lot of the things that were held against Deontay Wilder are not his fault. And by that, I mean, he came in during a time where there was this, it seemed to me to be a push. And I just recalled this based off of the conversation that Peter Fury had, where he referred to Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder as a weightlifter and a football player. And when he said football player, and then he's talking about Tyson Fury as being a lifelong boxer. Like, that's what he did. And I really do believe that is the biggest advantage that Tyson Fury has over both Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, in that, from what I know, Tyson Fury was raised a boxer. This is his sport. He didn't just get into it, when he was later on in life. He's been doing this from childhood. And that, I think, does bring a certain amount of comfort and a certain amount of flexibility and knowledge, just intrinsic muscle memory type of knowledge that allows you to perform slightly better. Now, that said, back to Deontay Wilder, I remember when Seth Mitchell came out, and I think it was around the time that, Bryant Jennings, Seth Mitchell, Deontay Wilder, all those guys came out around the same time. In fact, Seth Mitchell, I do believe, and Deontay Wilder turned professional at the same time. I think Bryant Jennings was maybe a year or two after that, but right within the same range. And they were all former football players. I know that Deontay Wilder also played basketball, but there was kind of if people recall, there was a push to start recruiting American football players or a lot of football players. I think also guys like Gerald Washington are professional football player, or were, former college football players, guys that didn't go to the pros in football, moved into boxing. And I always thought that there was a certain amount, because I always brushed him off. I always just like, oh, he's a football player. He's a football player. This guy can't, he's learning on the job. Yeah, if he had been around when he was younger and been trained to be a boxer, like, a big guy like George Foreman, who started, boxing was his primary sport, or, Muhammad Ali, who's also a bigger guy. Now would be, a mid-size heavyweight now, but a guy like that who had always been a boxer, or Vladimir Klitschko, right? Vitaly Klitschko. Those guys are really big guys, but they were always boxers. And Tyson Fury, big guy that was always a boxer. If the guys who played American, who are like linemen in American football, or wide receivers in American football, or basketball players who are small forwards like the Kobe Bryants and the LeBron James, if those guys had always boxed. If they had started in the local, the local boys and local boys and girls club programs, or local gyms were available in the United States for those guys to start boxing, that they would be, that heavyweight boxing in the United States would be a lot further along. That's what happened with guys like Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield, and I've met Holyfield when he was still, just a handshake, but he was a big guy. I mean, a really big guy. Tyson's a really big guy. And I think Tyson might have started boxing somewhere around the age of 15, 16, something like that, with a very, very good trainer. But I think that a lot of what was happening with Deontay Wilder and why he got a bad rep in American boxing circle is because he came in with a reputation similar to Seth Mitchell and Bryant Jennings, and people were just sitting around waiting for him to lose. However, where Seth Mitchell wound up, how long was Seth Mitchell around? Like 2008, like 5 years. He was, beating a lot of guys, got all the way up to, had a good bout with like Chaz Witherspoon, but then ran into Jonathan Banks, Jonathan Banks, who wound up becoming the trainer for the Klitschko's after Emmanuel Stewart passed away. Right. And he lost to him. And then I think his last bout, he got knocked out by Chris Arreola. So I think that people have still, I hear it in their voice. I mean, where they don't necessarily give Deontay Wilder the credit for being as athletic as he is and kind of waiting around for him to lose. So that's why, that is still around. Sorry to have gone into that so long. I just kind of went off for a second. That portion of it's still around, but the fact that he's known in the United States right now cannot be denied. He is, as far as the boxers that are shown on regular television, he's the top. He's the number one drawing guy. He draws more than, he's on Showtime, which is a smaller network than HBO, and he still does roughly the same numbers that Gennady Golovkin does in a larger program. And he does better numbers than Adrian Bronner, and nobody would deny that Adrian Bronner does good numbers and is a well-known popular boxer in the United States. So at least those things have gone away, and I can kind of relax a little bit on those, and then just kind of wait for things to take place. I don't think Deontay Wilder needs to chase Anthony Joshua, because it seems as if that the rest of the division is, you're going to start having better and better matchups, because this situation, I do believe that Dillian Whyte or Matchroom got forced into making this bout that they probably didn't want, because now they have the ability to negotiate it, right? Where they can figure out how they can make their promotional dollars. They can have their relationship. They can sell their tickets on the secondary ticket market. There are no secondary ticket market sales in Bulgaria for them. So they'll go with this bout, and it should be an entertaining bout. And in July, I don't think that there's going to, that's the month, that's next month. That's less than 8 weeks, right? So that's less than 2 months. That's like 7 weeks away, right? So they could turn around and have a training camp. Dillian Whyte just came off of a bout not too long ago with Lucas Brown. Luis Ortiz just came off that bout with Deontay Wilder, and they should be ready to go. So, hey, man, and now we got Tyson again. We got Tyson Fury against a Fury this weekend. So I don't think, from a real boxing fan, and I don't want to say real, I mean, even the casual boxing fans are they are fans of boxing. They just don't know a whole lot about it, or they're maturing boxing fans. That's probably the better way to say it. They might not appreciate these bouts coming up, but I definitely appreciate these bouts coming up. And on the last point, I'm so happy for Luis Ortiz to get another shot at a payday. Now, if they're entering into negotiations, if they're going to announce it, that means they must have offered Luis Ortiz some decent money. So Luis Ortiz didn't get actually a purse bid wouldn't have done him too well, because they would have got the bulk of the money to Dillian Whyte anyway. But anyway, it is what it is. Hopefully this is true. And I'm out. Peace.